right, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks again, everyone, for joining today's webinar. This is a SupplyPike Academy webinar on targeting unpaid invoices. We're excited to show you some of the new features related to Deductions Navigator for Target and disputing unpaid invoices that's now available in the SupplyPike apps. So just real quick, my name is Kristen Nicewarner, and I will be your host today. I am the VP of Customer Success here at SupplyPike. So I lead our customer success and account management teams. So anytime you have questions or need training on the SupplyPike applications, or you need support, my team is the team that will be helping you with that. So a little bit later on in the webinar, we will go through some of our support resources and how you can reach out with any questions on how to use the application if you have those. Our agenda for today's webinar is to talk about unpaid invoices at Target. So we're going to learn a little bit about what unpaid invoices are, and then we're going to dive into the SupplyPike application and look at features related to invoices and unpaid invoices within SupplyPike. So this will really be a targeted training session today. So looking forward to answering any questions that you have about the app as well. Just a couple FAQs, housekeeping items before we dive into today's content. We will provide you with a copy of the slide deck. It typically takes us about 3 to 4 business days to put together the slide deck, packet along with the recording of today's webinar. So you will receive an email within about 3 to 4 business days with that information and a copy of everything that you see today. So if you do have questions as we go throughout the webinar, we ask that you utilize the Q&A window within Zoom. So if you'll look on your Zoom toolbar, it's typically at the bottom of your screen. You should see a green icon in the middle of that Zoom toolbar that is titled Q&A. If you want to, go ahead and pull up that Q&A box. And as you have questions throughout the webinar, feel free to type those questions in there. We should have time to answer some of your questions today live. If we run out of time, we will make sure and answer any questions that you have after the conclusion of today's webinar today. All right, let's dive into unpaid invoices at Target. So we're going to start by learning what unpaid invoices are at Target. So Target's system for receiving invoices matches them with receipts. And sometimes Target ignores invoices from vendors, or they're not properly matched with receipts. And so often what happens is those invoices end up going completely unpaid, which is what we're really going to dive into today. In order to get paid on these invoices, Target vendors will need to dispute the invoices in Synergy and include like a proof of shipment or delivery. So very similar to what you're used to with submitting disputes for shortage deductions. A similar process needs to happen in order to get paid on these unpaid invoices. Almost every Target vendor has past due unpaid invoices. By our count, on average, only 29% of the ones that could have been disputed and paid have ever been disputed and paid. So most vendors really end up with thousands and in some cases, millions of dollars in past due unpaid invoices that without using this process are going unaddressed. The really good news about this is that disputing these unpaid invoices has a very high win rate. So following this process that we're going to walk through today on any unpaid invoices that have been identified, you should be very successful with that, and you should see a very high win rate. So to support Target vendors and SupplyPike Target customers with getting paid on every cent that you're owed, we have launched these new features and a new invoices page within Deductions Navigator for Target, which we're going to really dive into here very shortly. So before we dive into those new features, though, let's first get a deeper look at Target's process for matching invoices with receipts. So receipt of the invoice into Target's system is typically done through EDI. Once Target receives your merchandise at the agreed upon location, the product is then going to be scanned and a receipt is created for that product. Each day, Target's system searches for a receipt that matches your invoice based on several different criteria, which you can see listed here. So that criteria includes the vendor number, the department number, purchase order number, location, and total invoice cost. So if all of those fields on the invoice and the receipt match, then the invoice is processed through Target's system and approved for payment. However, if there are any discrepancies between the receipt and the invoice, then the invoice is sent to a queue for manual correction. So Target is only going to pay the invoice in full once the invoice and the receipt have been reconciled. And it's also at this same point that they would generate a deduction for any discrepancies. So this chart here, this workflow chart, kind of summarizes the Target receipt and invoice matching system. So you can see that this is really a very complicated process that leaves many invoices going unpaid as a result of just not being able to be reconciled because of those things that we previously mentioned. So what do you do when you have these past due or unpaid invoices? That's really when we get into, first of all, identifying and getting visibility into those past due and unpaid invoices. And then secondly, disputing them so that they can be paid along with the proper documentation. So we're going to dive in to the agenda for product training for today. And we're really going to look at these new features in SupplyPike, learn about how they help you with this unpaid invoices problem. So this is what we'll be covering today. We're going to look at how to view your invoices in SupplyPike for Target. We're going to take a look at the invoice list view. We're going to look at invoice statuses and what each of those statuses mean within Target's invoicing system. There's a variety of filters that you can utilize to search and sort through all of your invoices within SupplyPike. And then we're going to dive into the invoice details page as well. And, really look at what you can see on those invoice details, what you have visibility into within SupplyPike, and how to dispute them and win them back. So let's go ahead and start with the invoices list view. So as we've been talking about, sometimes Target ignores invoices from vendors, or they're just not able to reconcile them, which results in unpaid invoices. So in order to get paid on those invoices, you're going to need to dispute the invoices with a proof of shipment or delivery. So this can be things like a BOL, perhaps a Target delivery receipt, or a POD from your carrier. Again, almost every Target vendor has past due unpaid invoices. And we have this new invoices page, which you can see here in the screenshot on the left, or over on the right-hand side, you'll see a demo company for SupplyPike for Target. And you'll see the invoices page. This is a new tab within SupplyPike that you'll have access to at the top of your page. So the invoices page provides you with a list of all invoices and details of those invoices. So this includes the invoice number and date, You'll see the purchase order number, the amount due, and the due date for that invoice, and really all other details. So we call this page here the invoice list view. And again, you access it just by clicking on the invoice tab at the top center of your page. So this probably looks very similar to the deductions list view that you're very familiar with. You've got the same buckets at the top. So you've got 4 buckets that your unpaid invoices or that your invoices are grouped into. You've got the actionable bucket, your in progress bucket, your archived bucket, and then your all invoices bucket. And we're going to dive into these right now. So the invoice status and invoice list view is where you're going to see all of those. And let's look at the actionable first. So the actionable bucket is really where you're going to do most of the work. It displays all of the invoices that have not been paid by Target and are past due. So you'll see over here on the right-hand side, the status of past due. So just like with the deductions features in SupplyPike, if you dispute these unpaid invoices, then they will be moved to the in progress tab or in progress bucket that you see here. And it will also provide you with the case information once that is submitted into Synergy, which is the application Target uses for these disputes. Once Target makes a decision on that dispute, then they will automatically move into the archived bucket, which is the 3rd bucket here. And everything, of course, is going to show in the all invoices bucket, which we'll look at each of these in a little more detail shortly. One thing to note is that disputed invoices that are denied are also able to be redisputed. You can redispute them within SupplyPike as well. So we'll kind of look at those features, how to submit disputes and how to submit redisputes if they are denied. So let's go back to actionable and dig a little bit more into that bucket first. Invoices that are in the actionable bucket are marked as past due if they are 7 days past the due date for payment associated with the invoice. So you'll see the payment due date here, and if it's 7 days past that due date, then these are flagged as past due. If no due date is provided by Target, then as a backup, SupplyPike is going to use the payment terms by department from the vendor management and maintenance app to determine what the due date is. Past due invoices are unpaid invoices by nature of their status. So anytime you see a past due invoice in this invoice list view, in order to get paid on that invoice, you do need to dispute it. On the in progress bucket, as mentioned, once you dispute your unpaid invoices, they're going to move into this in progress bucket and then provide you with the case information. So you'll see on the right-hand side over here, they are in a status of Target research. So these are all disputes that are waiting on Target to either request further information of you in order to make a decision, or, they're basically waiting for Target to make a decision either in favor of you, approved, or to be denied. So again, they're Target research, and clicking the arrow on the right-hand side, you can open them up and see all of the case information. The archived bucket, which is the 3rd bucket here, contains invoices where a decision has already been made. So after they're in the in progress bucket and Target makes a decision on them, whether that decision is approved, paid, or denied, then they are moved into the archived bucket. So you're going to see denied disputes in this bucket, you're going to see approved disputes, and then as we can see here, you're going to see paid disputes in this bucket as well. So denied disputes are ones where Target has closed the case without agreeing to pay you for that invoice. They've agreed not to pay you for any amount of that disputed invoice. So that's what denied means. If you see a status of approved, this is where Target closed the case and agreed to pay back an amount of the disputed invoice that's greater than 0. So they agreed to pay back, or they approved, agreed to pay back some amount of that invoice. However, if they are in approved status, you're still waiting to see proof of payment on that invoice. Once you receive proof of that payment, once that comes through for the invoice, then the status will change to paid, which are the ones we see on our screen here. So finally, the all invoices bucket, which is the fourth bucket that we have here, we're not only showing you unpaid invoices, you can actually see every invoice that we have any sort of record for in the all invoices bucket. So this tab is going to include paid invoices and any deductions that we can associate with each invoice. It's going to include open invoices that might be in process to Target, or maybe they're in process of being delivered. Unprocessed invoices, which you can see several of right here, are ones that are still waiting on Target to recognize. And then you'll also see the denied invoices here in this bucket, those ones that may have been disputed already and not been approved for payment. You will notice that you've got a variety of filters here within the invoices list view as well. So we've got both search and filtering options at the top of the list view. You can use this search box to search for a specific invoice. For example, you can type in the PO number or invoice number to find what you're looking for quickly. Or you can use the filtering options, which are these buttons here to the right-hand side, to narrow down this invoice list based on the status, what files are attached, the dates or amounts. So all of those nice filtering options that you're used to within the deductions list view are also available in the invoices list view. I would recommend that you, if you're searching for a specific like invoice number or PO number, I would recommend you hop into the all invoices bucket. That way you will find it no matter what the status is on that particular invoice. So let's say, for example, you want to filter this list of invoices by a date range. You can click on this date filter here and use either the start date or the end date calendar. You'll notice you can click just on the little calendar icon to pull up that calendar, or you can use both the start and the end date to select a desired date range. By default, invoices are displayed by invoice date. So when you see them sorted in the list, they're sorted by invoice date. But you can also change this to purchase order date, due date, or even the paid date if you'd like to see your list of invoices by one of those options. The status filter is also available. And again, the statuses listed here are really going to be dependent based on what bucket you are currently looking at. So right now I'm in the all invoices bucket. So I'm going to see all statuses available for me to filter by. But if I hop on over to the archived bucket and I click on the status filter, you'll see I only get the option for denied and paid. And if I had any approved in here, those would also show in this as well. So you can select a status on which you want to see all of those invoices. So if you wanted to see everything that was paid, you could select the paid status and it's going to filter out the list view for you, of course. Any of these statuses, you can select one or you can select multiple. maybe you want to see unprocessed and open invoices, you can select both of those and your list will filter as well. You can also filter by amount. So clicking this amount button or drop-down menu, and then you can select the desired amount. So if you wanted to filter out by invoice amount, deduction amount, or paid amount, you can do that. You would want to enter the minimum and maximum amount here to narrow down your results. Where this can be really handy, and this is also, I guess, a pro tip on the deduction side as well, is if you have a specific deduction or invoice and all you have is the amount of that deduction or invoice, maybe you don't have the PO number or the invoice number, you can type in a specific amount here. Just type that same amount in both the minimum and maximum boxes, and it will filter out and pull up that exact amount one for you. So that can be super handy. So just a reminder, as you utilize these filters here and you filter out this invoices list, the total amount that you see right here will be updated based on the invoices that are displayed. So if I want to look at all of just my paid invoices, you'll notice that once I select the paid filter, that this amount changed for me. You can also really quickly reset your filters by clicking on this clear button. So if you've selected maybe multiple filters here, you've got a date filter, and maybe you want to look at just invoices with a delivery receipt as an example. So you've got all of those filters selected. You can click the clear button to clear your filters and reset it back to that original state. All right, the next thing that I would like to dive into is the invoices details page. So we're going to go back to the actionable tab because we're going to start to look at the process for disputing these unpaid invoices. So back on my actionable tab, again, this is where I'm going to see everything that is past due. And in order to get paid on those past due invoices, I need to dispute them. So the first thing that I want to do is look at the invoice details page. I can get to the invoice details page by clicking the arrow on the right side of that invoice item that I see listed. So I'm just going to click the arrow here, and this takes me to the invoice details page. So invoices with 810 EDI data available should have everything on the details page here. So you'll see all of this information over here. You should be able to see all of that respective information here within this details page. So this is going to include like item information, any discounts, any kind of logistical information that was included with that 810 EDI transmission. It will also have like the purchase order number, the date, and any deductions and remittance information from Target will be shown here. And again, that is as long as the 810 EDI data is available within the Target system. Invoices that are older than 6 months prior to the time of onboarding with SupplyPike for Target will likely only have a basic set of information available. That's going to include like the invoice number, the amount, possibly a due date, and possibly related purchase order number and date, as well as any deductions or payments that we can associate with it. So if it's prior to that 6-month period, again, you'll still be able to see that and have visibility, but you will see less information here on the invoice details page. This is really due to a limitation on Target's side, where they only store the latest 6 months of EDI data. So just simply because that data is not available past 6 months, we can only present limited data here. So next up on our agenda, we're going to start diving into submitting a dispute on an unpaid invoice. redisputing unpaid invoices if they're denied. We're going to look at exporting unpaid invoices and then activating the unpaid invoice feature in Deductions Navigator for Target. Before we dive into these things, I'm going to pause for just a minute to see if you have any questions. If you do, you can put them in the Q&A box, and then we'll get started on this piece of the agenda here shortly. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Let's look at submitting a dispute on an unpaid invoice. So to dispute an unpaid invoice, you're simply going to go into the details page here, the invoice details that we're looking at right now. And you're going to scroll down to this right-hand side where you can create a case. So to successfully dispute an unpaid invoice for payment, a vendor typically only needs to provide some sort of proof of shipment or delivery. So this can be things like a BOL, perhaps a Target's delivery receipts, or a POD from your carrier. I noticed a question that just came in through the chat side of things. Thank you so much for that question. The question is, are we able to get payment on the invoices over 6 months? Yes, you can still dispute those unpaid invoices that are over 6 months old. It's just simply the EDI data is not there, but you can still dispute them. So good news there. So again, to successfully dispute an unpaid invoice for payment, a vendor typically only needs to provide the proof of shipment or delivery. So again, the BOL, perhaps a Target delivery receipt, or a POD from your carrier. We will be setting up those shipping document integrations, just like you are used to with the deductions and submitting disputes for shortage disputes. We'll be setting up those shipping document integrations for unpaid invoices. So again, you won't have to spend any more time hunting down the shipping documents and checking whether or not you've got the right document. You will see the shipping documents that have been matched to this invoice within the right-hand side of this claim information. So you will see here that we've got both the invoice attached and the BOL attached on this one. So to create this case and submit a dispute for this past due unpaid invoice, we can enter the receipt ID, we can enter a dispute explanation, and really, we're simply going to hit the submit dispute button. So if you are a current SupplyPike customer and you are used to using SupplyPike to submit disputes on shortage deductions, as an example with Target, very, very similar workflow here. You've got your dispute explanation where you can type in a short description that you would like the Target team to review when reviewing your case, and hit the submit dispute button. So if your initial dispute is denied, you also have the ability within SupplyPike to redispute that unpaid invoice. So now that we know how to submit a dispute on a single unpaid invoice, let's go in and look at how to look at your denied cases and redispute those. So I'm going to go back by clicking this arrow in the top left-hand corner back into the actionable bucket. Now, you'll remember a moment ago when we were talking about the statuses, we can see our denied disputes in either the archived or the all invoices bucket. So I'm just going to hop into the archive bucket here, and we're going to go to a status of denied. So if your initial dispute has been denied, you're going to want to redispute that unpaid invoices. So we filtered to denied here in the archive bucket. I could also do that within the all invoices bucket, just as a reminder there. And you can see that we've got 5 invoices for about $35,000 that are in that denied status. So to redispute this invoice, we're going to click on the arrow to the right-hand side. that is going to open up the invoice details for this denied dispute. Again, we've got the case information over here on the right-hand side. But now, since it's been denied, we can see the resolution details. So you're going to see a last updated date. And if the target team has added any explanation to that denial, you'll be able to see that here as well. And then below that, you'll see a resubmission form. So this is the form that you can use to go in and resubmit that denied unpaid invoice. Again, you can edit the details if you need to edit the dispute amount, but you can enter your receipt ID, your dispute explanation. I would suggest that you review that resolution explanation and maybe add something that responds specifically to that. And then make sure you have all of the documents that are requested or necessary. You'll see the ones already included checked here. And then to resubmit this, again, you're just going to click the Submit Dispute. So the main difference here is that you're going to see this denied resubmit form here at the bottom, and you'll also have those resolution details on the unpaid invoices that have previously been disputed and denied. All right, let's hop back into the invoices list view. Just really quickly, I want to show you the export feature. I know this can be really handy for a lot of SupplyPike's customers. So just like with your shortage deductions in SupplyPike, you can also export all of this data to CSV or Excel. So you'll see that over here on the right-hand side, you've got that export option. Just select the Export Invoices button, and whatever you have listed here is going to be exported into a CSV format for you so that you can pull that into a spreadsheet if you'd like to. All right, we've got a bit of time left, so we'll leave some time here for any questions that you have. Here shortly, I'll go back and review that submitting disputes. I know we went through that a little bit fast, so we can review that again here. But I just want to emphasize, if you're interested in learning more about this unpaid invoices feature in Target, or if you don't currently have access to the invoices list view or this feature, and you would like to gain that access, I would suggest that you reach out to your SupplyPike account manager or customer success manager with any of those questions. So you can reach them at their direct email if you have that, or if you can't locate that, you can always email us at support@supplypike.com. Another really handy tool that I'll talk about here in a little bit in more detail is our live chat in the bottom right-hand corner. So feel free to use that live chat app at any time, which will take you directly to our customer success team. So I'm going to pause for just a moment and review any questions that have come in, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, couple of questions, and some of these I will need to follow up with you after the webinar today. But one question I'd love to review is, can you dispute more than one invoice at a time? Currently, within the invoices feature, you will only be able to dispute one invoice at a time. So you'll need to go into the arrow on the right-hand side and use that dispute form to submit the dispute. However, just like with our deductions disputing, we will be working on features that allow you to bulk submit these disputes for multiple invoices and bulk redispute multiple invoices at a time as well. And the way that you do that will be very similar to the way that you do it with shortage deductions. So you'll notice you've got the check boxes over here on the left. If I check multiple right now, I only have the option to edit the dispute explanation. So that is a bulk option you can do right now within the app. But once we are able to release the features for bulk disputing, When you check multiple here, you will have that option to submit more than one at a time. So that's coming soon. I don't have an exact timeline of when that will be available, but we'll definitely send out emails and keep you posted on when those new features are released. We're really excited about that. And I know those bulk features really add a lot of efficiencies for you. So that's definitely something that we're wanting to do and very important for us to add. Great question. Thank you for that. Okay, we had a couple more questions that came through, which I answered privately, and we'll be following up with you after the webinar. One other question about the recording. Where can I access the recording for future reference? So we will be putting together the recording. It typically takes us about 3 to 4 business days to get that together for you. So you should receive an email to your email inbox within about 3 to 4 business days with both the slides that we've looked at today, as well as a recording of everything that we've talked through today. So yes, that will be coming out within 3 to 4 business days. Okay, let's do a quick review of submitting disputes for these unpaid invoices, and then I want to show you our support resources that we have available, and then we'll be done with today's webinar. So let's go back to submitting a dispute. Again, really just a very quick view. The actionable tab is where you're going to be spending most of your time in the invoices list view. This is where you will see all of those past due invoices that are more than 7 days past the invoice due date. In order to get paid on these past due invoices, you will have to dispute them. If you do not dispute them, you will not be paid for these invoices. So to dispute a past due invoice, you're going to click the arrow to open up to the invoice details page. Again, this is where you're going to see all of the information from your EDI 810 in this left-hand side here. You'll remember that we mentioned if it is older than 6 months, you will have limited information here over on the left-hand side, but you can still dispute this unpaid invoice. On the right-hand side is where you're going to create your case and submit your dispute. So you can insert your dispute explanation. You can do that in bulk as well, as we looked at just a moment ago on the list view. You're going to check your documents that are attached. Again, if you're a SupplyPike customer, we'll want to make sure we've got you set up with a shipping document integration so that these documents are automatically attached to your invoice and you don't have to go hunting and finding each individual document to attach here. Once you've got all of that information, you're just going to click on Submit Dispute, and that will initiate the case within Synergy and Target for them to review. Once you submit the dispute here, it is moved into the In Progress bucket. From the In Progress bucket, you can click into that invoice that is in a Target research status now. And from there, you can see the case information. You can see the amount that you disputed. You can see the case type, so it'll be an unpaid invoice case type. And you can see the dispute explanation that you entered when you submitted that dispute. Once Target has made a decision on this case, then it's going to be moved into the archived bucket. If Target approves, it will be shown as approved. And approved just simply means they have agreed to pay back a portion of that invoice, but you have not yet received proof of payment. Once you receive proof of payment, it will be moved to a paid status. You can click into that paid invoice and you're going to see details of the payment. So you'll see the amount paid, the check date, and the check number that payment was located on. You're also going to see disputes that have been denied here. So if it is denied, you can click in and see the case information that you submitted. You can see Target's response to your case and hopefully a detailed explanation of why it was denied. And then you can make any modifications and resubmit that denied dispute within this same page as well. All right, just reviewing a couple of questions that came in here, and then we'll touch base on some support resources for you and finish up today's webinar. All right, we've got some great questions that have come in. I am going to follow up with each of you after the conclusion of today's webinar to make sure I get you detailed information on these questions. I do want to look at our support resources with you really quick, so that if you have any further questions and as you start using these features within SupplyPike for Target, you know how to access our team to get answers to those questions. So just really quick, we've got some great support resources available for you. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner of SupplyPike, you're going to see this chat icon. And I always recommend this to our SupplyPike current users because this is a great way to get really quick answers to the questions that you have as you are working within SupplyPike on a day-to-day basis. We have a live chat tool, and I know that sometimes it's a little scary to use a live chat within a software application, but this really does go directly to our customer success team, and we want to help you so that you don't get stuck as you're trying to work throughout the day. So if you just click on this send us a message button right here, it'll open up a chat with our customer success team. You can type in any question that you have there. We have really great response times. You'll see right now our response time is under 4 minutes. We can typically get you an answer to your question within 15 to 30 minutes, or we can escalate it really quickly if you're experiencing an issue. So that's a really, really great tool, and I recommend that you guys utilize that as you're working in SupplyPike throughout the day and come up with questions. We also have a really great knowledge base. So this is our help center. If you have questions about how to use a certain feature, or maybe you have questions about a specific code, then you can search for that help here. For Target specifically, we have a knowledge base on Target here, Deductions Navigator for Target. So you can see all of our help articles on shortage deduction disputing, unpaid invoices disputing, just general information about Target deductions, and also our release notes. As we release new features within the Target application, we will add release notes for the applications here as well. So that's a really helpful resources. You can type in a keyword or just search throughout our articles, or you can just sort through them. We have excellent supplier wiki events, webinars such as the one that you're attending today. SupplyPike Academy is our SupplyPike training arm. So we're here to help walk you through those features within our applications as well. In addition to that, you've got contact information for myself, as well as Clint, who is the product manager for Deductions Navigator for Target, and we're happy to help you with any questions that come up as you are utilizing these features. I do see a couple questions coming through. Is there a time limit to submitting disputes that are actionable? I want to verify that for you. Caitlin, like you said, Walmart has a 2-year time limit. I believe with Target, it's 18 months, but I want to just double check on that for you. So I am going to do that, and I will follow up with you each. We'll follow up with each of you after the conclusion of the webinar today, so that we double check that on the invoices side of things, the 18 months holds firm. So I'll be following up on that. I will be available for the next about 5 minutes. If you have any further questions, I will hang on here. Please feel free to type those in. But otherwise, if you don't have any questions, thank you so much for attending today. We will be sending out the recording of today's webinar within about 3 to 4 business days, so you have access to that. You'll also get a copy of the slide deck. So thank you everyone for attending. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you next time.